Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show with Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hi bro, how are you?
Hamid, what's up, man? Feeling good, feeling great. Hitting the home stretch. We got 15 more games until Arsenal shows up or finishes up, and then Austin FC. The beginning of the season starts this Saturday. We play a home game, and third season that this team has existed. We had a pretty strong season last year. We made it all the way to the second to last round, the semifinal in the playoffs. Um, Lost to the eventual runner-up to the title, and or actually no, we lost to the eventual champion LAFC. So big things, and then we're into like we also have like CONCACAF Champions League plus like a U.S. Open League, which is kind of like FA Cup, and then there's supposed to be like the first time they're doing this, but like a mid-season tournament with the Mexican Professional League that's going to kind of pause um, league play, and they're going to do this special tournament. So like a lot of crazy stuff going on. Um, yeah, MLS is trying to expand and blow up, man. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Mm.
It's growing bigger and bigger there. Seen a lot of good players coming there in recent times from the European leagues.
Mm.
Yeah, it's getting going from strength to strength. You got the World Cup coming up as well. So
Yeah,
it's gonna play a big part in growing.
growing the sport.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, bro, great weekend for us. Since we done our last show, I did catch up with you for a match reaction after that Villa game. So got your thoughts there about that game and a little bit about the Man City game. But yeah, now on the show, have a little recap on your overall thoughts going back to that Man City game middle of last week. Unfortunately, it was a loss in that one, but we bounced back. It was really important against Aston Villa, and it turned out to be a great weekend for us with us getting that win in dramatic fashion right at the end of the game. And then we saw City dropping points again against Nottingham Forest. So, what were your overall thoughts on last week?
Yeah, that last week was it's a big roller coaster, right? Started with bit of a disappointing um I guess result with you can go all the way back to like well even Everton, right? But you move on from that. But Brentford was that most recent one. Felt like we got robbed of 3 points. City was a rough outing. I might have mentioned it the last time, but I still feel like, even now, I think we're going to eventually look back at that game and kind of look at it the same way we looked at our first matchup against United, where we were sort of the better team, but the scoreline didn't show it. I don't think we're that much of a better team than City, but I don't think they're that far ahead of us by what the scoreline showed. So similar fashion, right? Like, hey, we're a lot better than what the scoreline said. I thought we played a great second half, and then City made their adjustments, and their overall quality showed. But I think you can look at some of their post match comments uh, going against us, and they were nothing but complimentary toward us. And part of that could be mind games, but I agree with a lot of the stuff they were saying. Like, we're not a team to slouch at and forget about. And sure enough, we showed it. We bounced back pretty well against Villa. Very difficult venue to play at, not just for us, but for the Premier League as a whole. And then and then we ended up gaining back first place in the table, with the draw to City. So it was a lot of big roller coaster. Um, I thought that that Villa game we could have done a lot better in that first half, but the resiliency, what you kind of want. Like, there's this debate, like, would you rather see us win 4-0 every time or go through those kind of like adversity type games and a little bit of mix of both? I mean, the 4-0 wins are going to be very much more enjoyable, if you will, but you learn a lot about what type of team you have by how they respond to adversity. And I remember watching um, the game against Villa first half and not surprised that we did give up the lead twice, but at the same time, still optimistic. And I was probably one of the only optimistic people in the bar. A lot of people were getting nervous, but I just remember um, myself, and probably because I stayed sober the whole time, but I was like, man, we got this. We got this. I felt like we just kept chipping away. and eventually something good was going to happen. Even after that Odegaard miss, like I felt it's going to happen for us, and sure enough, it did. Um, I would have been happy with 3-2, but the 4-2 that final goal was like incredible, man. So yeah, you can just see exactly how the swings go. Like I mean, one week can change everything. I mean, at the end of Brentford, there was a lot of people starting to worry, and I think the positivity is back, and hopefully we can start a new streak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, bro. Just going back to that Man City game, unfortunately, some mistakes cost us in that one. These things happen. It's part of football. Mistakes will happen. It's just in such a high profile game. We made it more difficult for ourselves. It's already a very difficult game playing a team like Man City, and the record they have over us in recent times. We're talking about in the last show. Before this game, it was 10 wins in a row.
Yeah.
So really hard game. We've got to hopefully, go to the Etihad now and break this record they've got, this sequence of wins they've got against us. But just looking at that game overall, we did compete really well. If you look at the possession stats, I know possession doesn't mean a lot. It's about getting the 3 points end of the day. But a team like City, who like to dominate the ball, have a lot of possession in their games, we kept them down to their lowest amount ever. I think they were saying Pep's lowest ever for any team he's managed. It was down at 30 something percent, 38%, I think it was. Um,
36. We had it for 64%.
yeah, so That's that is a really good thing from our part. You could say maybe Pep change up these tactics a little bit, knowing how well we're playing, the confidence we've got, uh, trying to play us with that sort of game, keeping the ball. He maybe change it up a little bit. They did go a little bit longer, more direct to Haaland at times, but still, that's not their game. And for us to be causing them to change their game shows you the respect they have for us and the level we're at. That we're able to do that because they're normally very set in the way they play possession-based football. So, yeah, really good signs for us, even though it was a loss, but we competed well. We saw that in the FA Cup game against them as well. We really did compete well in that one. So, yeah, hopefully we can go to the Etihad later this season and, as I say, break that sequence of them beating us. And let's hope we can beat them. It could be a really crucial game in the title race. We don't know where we're going to be at that point. Hopefully, we're 10 points clear and it's not too important the game at that point. We've got such a nice lead on them. We're not under too much pressure there, but let's see how that goes. And yeah, so the Villa game, as you said, had to bounce back, really important. And it was right at the end. We left it late, but we got the 3 points. That was just so crucial. It's for our confidence, so important because having another game where we drop points after that Man City game, after the Brentford Everton game, it was really we were already kind of down after these last 3 games of not winning. So to have another one added to that would have made it even worse. It would be really hard to pick ourselves up, and it worked out so well for us that day that we got the win really late, and then we saw City drop points. It's just looking amazing for us this season that we're seeing we're back in pole position. City don't look as strong as they have in recent seasons. I saw Arsene Wenger talking about this as well, but City don't look so dominant this season, and it's a really great chance for us. We're playing so well. Just excited, bro. Excited. We can just take it game by game. We're getting closer and closer to our ultimate goal of winning the Premier League. It's been so long. Hopefully, we can do it. Next up is Leicester.
Mhm.
Away game, difficult again. They on their day are a very good team still. I know they've been inconsistent, but we saw against Tottenham a couple of weeks back how well they played in that one. They destroyed Tottenham 4-1. They've had some good results. I say up and down. They haven't been consistent. That's why they're not in the best of positions in the league. But difficult ground to go to. We're gonna have to be on our game because it's so vital. Again, we get them 3 points. Every game's so vital, and even if you look at the fixtures now coming up and you say, okay, the next 6 games on paper, we should be winning. We know what the Premier League's like. We must be
Yeah.
on our game. We've got to take each game as they come. Leicester's going to be a big test for us. We've got to be on our game again. And we're hoping for a more comfortable win. We don't want to leave it so late like we did with this one against Aston Villa. But yeah, but what's your thoughts on the game?
Well, they beat. I'm going back and looking at their last 5 or 6 games. So they lost Nottingham Forest 2-0. Before that was a EFL Cup 2-0. Then they drew Leicester, or no, drew Brighton at home. Um, FA Cup win 1-0 against some Walsall. 4-2 against Villa, they won. then they beat Leicester, or then they beat Tottenham 4-1, and then they got beaten against United 3-0. Excuse me. And I watched some of that United game just with extra interest, right? Because I think United are kind of still on the fringe a little bit, but I'm a little bit afraid that they're going to start competing a little bit for the title, right? Or at least just be in the conversation. So I was like, kind of want to see how they do against them. Um, and there was a good stretch where Leicester was actually playing really well. Excuse me, and was actually at points like somewhat the better team a little bit, but they could just never cash in. And then ultimately, I think United's they're just a much better quality team. I think they took over, and then I feel like the reason for Leicester's inconsistency is once you punch back and once you get ahead of them, it's over for them. So they're one of those teams that the longer you keep them believing, if you will, or like the longer that they're in the game, it's going to be more difficult. So yeah, as you said, it's going to be very important for us to. And it's the same story all year, but right, come out fast and take hold of the game and not give up some of those goals early on. I think it's a good thing that we did win against Villa because we can feel good about the way we came back. But there is some things to worry about a little bit. We have been giving up a lot of goals um, in these past few matches. We've given up 3-2 to United. 3-1 we lost to City, and then now 4-2. So we're giving up a good amount of goals. Um, and then the 1-0, the 1-1 draws. I mean, those were a little bit more defensive games to begin with, anyway. But we definitely have to get back to our ways of being a more stingier defending team. And I think it's just going to be on us to kind of control the match like we like to do and score early, which I think we can do. I think this previous match against Villa is going to give us a lot of confidence. But also at the same time, it's going to be a perfect, what I like to refer as like coaching games. Like it's going to be a big opportunity for this team to be coached and build on some of the things that happened. And I just saw Leipzig score 1-1. So something
No.
related to what we're talking about. Hey man, I want to see City. On a side note, yes, I know we're talking about Leicester, and Arsenal, but side note, I want to see City play difficult matches in the Champions League, and I want them to get pretty deep. Maybe they can fall off in the semifinal or whatever, but I want them to continue to just kind of have a congested fixture schedule because I think that overall helps us in the long run. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we have a chance to do something special, as you said earlier on, and I think that Villa game a perfect opportunity for us to kind of just get out of our funk. And if we want to build and continue to chase this title, I think now's going to be a great opportunity on Saturday to kind of take things off and go on another one of those little hot streaks. Because who's to say that we can't do it? So yeah, we'll see, man. Leicester's 14th. I mean, we should be able to just dominate them.
Yeah, bro. Hopefully we can get back to them dominant wins we're having earlier in the season where we're going to these difficult grounds and just shutting down the other team, really solid defensively, playing well offensively at the same time. And as you say, we've kind of defensively been showing quite a few frailties compared to how we were early in the season. So let's hope we can get back to that strong defense and get that complete performance because we saw against Villa, I've put it down to a lot of the fact that we were under so much pressure and a bit nervous. When you've been on a poor run like that, it's difficult. We saw they scored early, but the way we bounced back just shows you the resilience in the team because it was difficult. That first half, they played well, and giving up 2 goals like that, we could have folded, but no, we came out second half. People have been saying, "Oh, this is Arsenal crumbling, this, that, that." So we really answered that and said, "Nah, we're here, we're back." That was just a small blip, we're back, and now for us to take that confidence from that win to now go get a really dominant win against Leicester would be amazing. And then as we just move on game by game, we've got a nice little run coming up. Playing the likes of Bournemouth, Fulham, Leeds, Everton. I know you can't take any game for granted, but we have got a good little run of games coming up. So great chance for us to strengthen our position at the top of the league. So what are you going for a correct score prediction?
Oh man, I don't think we're gonna be bad defensively against them. So I think this will be a good opportunity to kind of shake off the cobwebs and get a clean sheet. So I'm gonna go 3-0. I think Leicester is gonna be a little bit reeling from their last match against United, and I predict like 3-0 scoreline, man. I think we come out fast, strong, and go up 2-0 early, and then finish it off late with a third goal to kind of start the celebrations.
Oh, that'd be amazing, bro. Nice
Yeah.
3-0 win. Also, the goal difference. I was speaking to someone on the weekend, and they were saying like we've got to take a look at that as well because that could come into play. And
Mm.
we're not too far off. They're already 8 goals behind them, a goal difference. So we can start getting some good dominant wins, close the gap on the goal difference as well. We don't want it to come to goal difference at the end of the season. Obviously, we want to win the title by quite a few points, quite comfortably. But you never know; it could come down to that. We've seen it happen in previous seasons. I remember a while about that season, I think when Man City won it ahead of Man United, it was on goal difference.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, it could be an important factor as well. All right, bro. So before we do our end of show predictions from you for some of the key games coming up this weekend, I wanted to ask you a question. What are your thoughts on the whole home advantage when it comes to sports? So in terms of US sports, here I'd say home advantage, when especially looking at football, it plays a massive factor. In quite a few sports, it does play a big factor. A crowd behind you, familiar surroundings. And we've seen that when you look at the statistics, it does play a big part. But from your experience with the US sports, what's your thoughts on home advantage and how big a part it plays in the US sports fair?
I think yeah, when it comes to like home advantage, my best experience would be like just with sports like in my home state, in my home. Like so going with like starting with like MLS for example. We started with Austin FC. I did look up some stats and like for home field advantage for MLS, for example, um, home teams generally win 53% of games. And if you take like every single match, the home team wins 53% of the time, which is good enough to say, hey man, there is a home field advantage. I think it varies from venue to venue. I think a lot of it has to do with the environment and the support that's generated by the culture of the organization. Um, because if we can look at Austin FC for example and say like last year um, out of like 18 matches we were able to win 9 of them and then pull the rest like I think half of that like 4 or 5 of those were draws and the rest were losses. So we're able to have like more positive results at home, which is pretty good. Ultimately, I think you have to win on the road, and I think that's why it's really important to win on the road. Um, but then I think if you go with sports like with like NFL or like NBA, I think it all depends on the culture of like the state that you're playing in. Texas is a very overall, it's more of like a show me or like a spectator sport. Like they treat it as a spectator sport, and you'll go to like NFL games and or basketball games and people will watch and they'll have fun and they'll enjoy it and then they may get loud like during the most important times of a match but like it's a little bit different I think for football because one example I was thinking about when you asked me the question I think when I first started watching like Premier League I noticed like even the small clubs like let's say someone like Leeds for example. I remember watching a Leeds game like when they first had fans in the Premier League, right? And they were losing like 3-0 or something like that, something ridiculous. And it was late in the game, but you wouldn't be able to tell just by listening to how the fans at Ellen Road were just completely drowning out the announcers, like they were having a good time, they were enjoying it. Now you're looking at that and you're like, well, that wasn't a very big home field advantage, but it's the atmosphere that kind of makes the sport, right? So, with Austin FC, even when we were a bad team, beating us at home wasn't exactly an easy thing to do because our supporters section is very loud, and no matter what the score is, like we continue to just kind of like make as much noise and make make it difficult for the opposing team to kind of you know execute their game plan, if you will. Um, so I think it just has to do mostly with the sports because then I've been to like here in Austin University, uh, American football is a big thing, right? Like you have pro and then you have the amateur, and like the Texas Longhorns are like one of the biggest teams in the nation, right? I mean, they haven't been good for a long time, but at their peak, it was very loud, right? And it was a very difficult place for opponents to come and win. And then as we've gotten worse, the crowd support has also gotten worse as well. So I think it all depends on a big factor is how good or bad a team is. The better teams are obviously going to be very difficult to play when you're at home. Um, versus a bad team is not going to have like um, a good home atmosphere, especially if like they're really bad, you know. So I don't know, I feel like it's different when it comes, European football, like home, like you're always going to go to like difficult venues, regardless of whether the team is good or not, right? Because the fans are going to get into it regardless. So um, I think that's like the main differences. I don't know if like anything I've said has maybe sparked some questions that you want to throw my way, but that's kind of how I've seen the comparison of the two, just kind of like a big picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about some of the other US sports as well, though. So the likes, I know you're a big follower of NFL and the NBA as well. What would you say home advantage the part that of playing them sports?
I think I looked up NFL too, and it's about the same, like about 50, 54, 55% um, last year. And then like when COVID, when there was no fans, it was like pretty much level. But yeah, home field advantage is sort of a thing. And I think it all has a lot to do with like, you're familiar with the locker rooms. Um, a lot of players, they get to, it's the same thing for them, same routine, so they're used to it. Um, and then I said, when things are going good, when your team is winning, you can build that factor. But I think a lot of times too, with the fact that there's like such a big sway and change in the way a crowd can act in American sports, a lot of away teams will actually thrive when they play away because the opportunity to like make the crowd go silent is sort of a thing. So and a lot of players like to bring up, like they like, to sort of play in enemy territory, if you will. Um, yeah, so I think it just also I think it depends ultimately like whether the team is good or not. Um, that's what it depends on. Whether a team is good or not, then you'll see variances in terms of like how difficult it is to go and play. There's some stadiums in the NFL, for example, that are always going to be difficult to play in. One of them is the team that just won the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs are like they've always, even when they've never been good, their venue has always been a difficult place to play, like notoriously loud. Um, Seattle, like the Seattle Seahawks, kind of the same thing. Whether they're good or bad, it's always going to be a difficult place to play. But then there are other, like the Dallas Cowboys, a team I like to follow. The team's not good, you're going to notice that the crowd's not going to be very loud. So it just all depends, I think, on the culture, um, which I think is just a little bit different than what it is in Europe. But I've never been to like a game in Europe, so it could be different because I hear people make fun of like Manchester City fans because they're just quiet no matter what, and I've even noticed that Old Trafford I hear sometimes is like can be very quiet, or Anfield. Um, some people even said like the Emirates used to be like that until the last few years or whatever. So I think it all has something. It's a little bit different, but yeah, man. I also think there's a lot of similarities, if you will. Um, it's a good, interesting question to like kind of dig into. as far as like statistic goes.
Yeah, for sure, bro. It's just I wondered what it's like in US sport. I do follow a bit of the NBA, and yeah, for sure, home advantage in any sports is going to play a big part. But it's interesting to see your thoughts on what it is like overall in America. And like I say, for us here in football, it does play a really big part in other sports as well. In other sports, I'll give you example, for example, in cricket. But home advantage plays a not just with the crowd and familiar surroundings, but also the conditions. Cricket's a sport where the conditions really do make a difference as well. So playing like, when I mean conditions, talking about the weather and how that can affect the pitches and the way the ball behaves. So that can play a big part in a sport like that as well. So yeah, man, interesting to get your thoughts on that.
I will say, that in the playoffs, so there, in US sports, there's regular season and playoffs. Playoffs is where like the home field advantage, you want that because that's when, you know, in the regular season games, like there's a lot more variance and noise level and things like that. But in playoffs, as long as that game is close, fans get louder and louder and louder. And even if they are losing, like it's just as long as the game is close. So you want to be at home to be able to feed off that energy because everything is so. Yeah, I think that would be the main difference now that I think about it. The one caveat is that America has more playoffs culture, and I think that's where home field advantage plays a big role. So during regular seasons, it's good, whatever. You want to play at home more often than I mean, and then also like the games are, you know, well, just like in Europe, you play equal amount home and on the road. But yeah, it's playoffs when it's like really, really a big thing because you'll see it in the NBA, right? Everybody all of a sudden has towels that they're waving on game one in Milwaukee, and you never see that like during a regular season game. So it's crazy, man. It's a little bit different, I think, with playoffs.
Yeah, bro, that hostile atmosphere I've seen in the NBA, but when there's some intense games like that, the crowd really do try to play a big part in, putting players off when we're taking the free throws. I see it must
Yeah,
be really difficult, like when you've got all these people in front of you, you can see them through, obviously you're not looking at the crowd, but it's hard not to block that out when you're aiming for the basket and a free throw and you got the crowd there just all jumping, trying to put you off.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a big thing. And then the minute you miss one free throw, it just energizes the crowd, and then they're gonna do it forever. Um, yeah, it's a pretty cool thing to see, man. I can't wait for NBA playoffs. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, for sure, man. Looking forward to that. Just have an all-star game. I was watching some of that. Great to
Yeah,
see.
I have feelings about the All Star mat games. Like they're not cool anymore. Like you can see any player you want at any time. Like it was cool like back when like even we were younger and you only got certain games on TV. But now that you can see any match at any time and you get all the highlights, it's not like it's lost some of its luster. So I didn't really watch it, but this is the first time I didn't watch it, so it was kind of weird.
Okay. Yeah, I've not seen much of that game too much. Like, I don't see what you mean. Like back in the day, it would be a much bigger deal than it is now. But yeah, looking forward to the playoffs like you, bro. Not long for him now. Okay, so as always, finish the show with getting some of your predictions on some of the key fixtures coming up this weekend. So let's start with Bournemouth versus Man City.
Oh man, Bournemouth. They've been playing a couple teams. I mean, they've been playing really tough. They drew against Newcastle United, although Newcastle's struggling a little bit with some key injuries, and they won against Wolves, which is in their realm in terms of like they're fighting for relegation. And I think City, and they seem to be playing a very difficult match right now against Leipzig. So hopefully that tires them out a little bit, evens out the playing field a little bit. I think the best thing would be a draw. I don't think Bournemouth would be able to pull off a victory. So I'm predicting. I think City end up keeping pace with us and winning something like 2-1. I'm going to say 2-1.
Yeah, it could have an impact on him playing this midweek Champions League game. If they're having to travel away as well, so travel time as well involved. But yeah, you would expect him to beat Bournemouth. Okay, then Tottenham are playing Chelsea. Thoughts on that one?
Oh boy, I'm gonna tune in that one into that one with some interest, just because I want to see this Chelsea collapse continue. Uh, and this is where I'm happy that in football you can see draws, because I don't really want to see either one of these teams win. I would also like to see them both lose. Can't get either of that, so we're just going to have to go with the draw, which I'm going to root for. I kind of want to see some goals, some chaos here, but Chelsea's been struggling to score goals lately. They're looking really bad. I think they'd even be lucky to get a draw here. Yeah, they've scored one goal this entire month, which is kind of hilarious. So geez, yeah, I don't know. It might be a nil-nil draw. I think Tottenham is a little bit better in terms of being able to score. They're very inconsistent. They look good against West Ham, sadly, but West Ham's not very good. So I'll say, you know what? I'm gonna have to just go with another Tottenham win, 2-0. Not worried about them anymore, so I don't feel bad picking them to win. But I think they beat Chelsea. I think Chelsea just continues their collapse. I don't think they're good enough to draw.
Okay, yeah, I saw a stat which was quite surprising, but Chelsea have not scored more than one goal in a game since November,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
true. Yeah,
yeah, that's crazy stat, and yeah, really struggling. They're a mess. So yeah, long may that continue. Draw, I reckon, for that one. But yeah, if you look at it on paper, probably Tottenham would go into that as favourites. Don't care about either team. Not a threat to
yeah.
us. It's so nice looking at the league table, see them struggle so much. But it is a big game. London derby, key Premier League fixture. All right, and then to finish with, not a Premier League fixture. This one's a Carabao Cup one. It's the final. It's Manchester United against Newcastle United. Prediction on that one?
Man, I think I don't want United just seems to keep winning, aren't they? And I don't want them to get on a hot streak. I would like to see them lose so that they don't get a trophy. But then at the same time, Carabao Cup, nobody really cares about it. So even if they were able to win it, who cares, right? I'm just hoping for a close match. I kind of always, for these kinds of ones, I like to see extra time go into penalty kicks and then just kind of let chaos ensue. I'm gonna root for that. I'm gonna root for like 1-1. I think this is gonna be big for Newcastle, right? And their like kind of growth into becoming a bigger club. So I think they have more to play for. Obviously, United wants to continue on their hot streak, but I think it'll be tightly contested. But Newcastle still plays good defense, so I'll say 1-1 draw, and then 5-3 penalties in favor of Newcastle. And yeah, and then we see a little bit of a mini United collapse. That's what I'm predicting. They got to get tired, man.
Yeah, we're playing a lot of games. Barcelona tomorrow, Carabao Cup final. Their next league game's Liverpool away as well. I hearing from them, there's some of their fans that I speak to telling me that we're only 5 points behind you, we're coming for you, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, every time you said you're getting close to us, you end up messing it up, dropping points. And I see that happening again. I think that amount of games, being in all four competitions, that's going to really stretch their squad. So I don't see them being a threat to us for the league. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that final goes. Newcastle have not won a trophy for so long, so they're going to be really up for it. They had their goalkeeper sent off in their last game, so that's going to be a big blow for them as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that game goes. Hopefully, Newcastle can beat Man United and always talk about them still being in the hunt to win 4 trophies will go away. Uh, it's not realistic. It's not happening. But yeah, man, that's some of the talk we're hearing from them. We're still in 4 competitions. Yeah, soon, hopefully, Newcastle win. That'll be down to 3. And they got no chance in the league to me. So it's really only 2. Europa League. And again, we're there to stop them winning that one as well. FA Cup, we're not there. They could win that one. fine. But yeah, we're not winning all four. And some of
Yeah,
them thinking
I'd
they're
be
not.
really at this point. I think I'm at the stage where I'm not even going to care about Europa League too. I just kind of want us to go for the league, man. But
Yeah, me
I don't
too.
know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, me too. Like for me, we have such a great chance. I know it's a European competition, but I'll be looking to rest up our players in that. Unless like we get talking about the semi-final or final. But even then, if you got a crucial, it's a semi-final and you got a crucial Premier League weekend, like game of the weekend, I'll be looking to rest players for Europa League. It's not the, the main competition in Europe, and the main prize for that was like if you win it, you get to go in the Champions League. But we're already in a place where we're going to seal the Champions League from our league position, so
Yeah,
not as important. But yeah, let's see what Arteta decides to do with that. So much to look forward to, bro. As always, looking forward to seeing you next week's show to discuss this weekend's games and all the latest news. Thanks for your time, bro.
my pleasure, man. Hopefully, it's going to be a big Saturday. Like I said, uh, Arsenal in the morning, and then Austin FC at night. I haven't gotten my ticket yet, but I probably will. And yeah, it'll be a good day. So looking forward to it, and looking forward to talking with you next week.
For sure, bro. So that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.